My name is Ryan Mercer, and if you'd asked me 6 months ago what I thought my life looked like from the outside, I'd have told you this. Steady, maybe even boring. A decent home, a daughter I'd take a bullet for, a wife I still found beautiful even after 12 years of marriage. I owned a small construction firm with a few reliable guys. Andrea, my wife, managed the billing for a local pediatric office. We weren't flashy, but we were solid. At least, that's what I believed. It was a Thursday afternoon in late April. The kind of afternoon where everything feels just a little too normal, like the air's holding its breath for something to go wrong. I got home early from a site near Hendersonville. The guys were ahead of schedule on a deck rebuild, and I figured I'd surprise Andrea and Lily by picking up some takeout and being home before sunset for once. When I walked in, the house was quiet. Not unusual. Lily had violin practice every Thursday with her instructor until 5:30. Andrea was supposed to be home working remotely. I even saw her car in the driveway. But the place felt vacant. I left the takeout on the counter and headed upstairs, half expecting to find her on a call in the office. Instead, the room was empty. I called her name. Nothing. Then I noticed something odd. Our bedroom closet was open, a shoebox on the floor, its lid crooked like someone had left in a hurry. I shouldn't have looked inside. I know that now. I wasn't snooping. I was confused, curious. There were old birthday cards, photos from our first trip to Charleston, and then, underneath it all, an envelope. It had no stamp, no return address, just Andrea's name, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. The seal had already been broken. I pulled the letter out slowly, like peeling off a bandage you're not sure you want to see under. You said we were just a moment, that it didn't mean anything. But you meant something to me, Andrea. You still do. I saw your daughter at the fundraiser last week. She's beautiful, like you. I wonder if she knows anything. See, I froze. I read the letter again and again. Every time I looked at those words, you still do, saw your daughter, I wonder if she knows anything. My stomach twisted tighter. I couldn't move, couldn't even breathe. Who the hell was C? And what did he mean by, you said we were just a moment? I heard the garage door opening downstairs. Andrea. I shoved the letter back into the envelope and slid it into my back pocket like it was contraband. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't let her see that. I couldn't ask anything yet, not until I knew what I was actually asking about. She walked in a minute later, looking distracted. She smiled at me like nothing had happened. Hey, you're home early, she said, kicking off her shoes. Everything okay? Yeah, elite. Just wrapped up faster than I thought. Brought Ty. Lily back yet? She shook her head, pulling her hair into a bun as she walked past me to the kitchen. It was everything I could do to not confront her right then. But something told me not to, not yet. I needed context. Proof. I didn't want to be the guy who blew up his marriage over a poorly worded note. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. Maybe C was a patient, a friend from before me. Maybe. But that line, I saw your daughter at the fundraiser. Andrea had gone to Lily's school fundraiser 2 weeks ago. I was stuck on a job in Arden and couldn't make it. She said it was low-key, that only school staff and parents were there. No one named C had come up. I needed more. That night, I waited until she fell asleep. Then I slipped out of bed and took her phone from the charger, holding my breath like I was robbing a bank. Password protected. That wasn't new. She'd always kept her phone locked, which I never had a problem with. But that night, it felt like a steel door between us. I looked at her sleeping face. Peaceful, innocent, or was it? The next morning, she left for work like it was any other day. Kissed me on the cheek, asked if I could pick up groceries after work. I said I would. She smiled, and I realized then I didn't know if I believed that smile anymore. After she left, I called Lily's school. Hi, this is Ryan Mercer. My daughter's in Mrs. Carter's 5th grade class. I had a quick question about the fundraiser 2 weeks ago. The office assistant was cheerful. Oh yes, great turnout. Lots of parents, plus a few community guests. Even someone from that new nonprofit downtown came by to observe. What was your question? Do you happen to have a guest list? Or a sign-in sheet? She paused. Well, not formally, but I remember a man asking Andrea for directions to the auditorium. Tall, maybe mid-40s, wore a charcoal blazer. He said he was from out of town. That wasn't nothing, but it wasn't proof either. Later that evening, when Andrea left her laptop open in the kitchen while getting Lily ready for bed, I made a move I never thought I'd make in my life. I snooped. I opened her Gmail. No saved password. Of course. She was always cautious. But the browser had another profile. Work too. I clicked it. Loaded. Her inbox was mostly clean. Too clean. But the trash folder? Not emptied. One subject line caught my eye. Miss you too. Call me when you can. It was from someone named Caleb M. No last name. The email body was simple. I understand. But you don't get to keep pretending nothing happened. Not when I still feel it. You can lie to him all you want. But don't lie to yourself. I closed the laptop just as she walked back in. She didn't notice the tension in my face. Or maybe she did, and ignored it. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind went in circles, wondering who the hell Caleb M. was and why my wife had him saved under a second email account. I couldn't keep pretending nothing was wrong. I had to find out who Caleb was. I had to know what really happened at that fundraiser. And I had to do it quietly, because if I was wrong, I'd never forgive myself. But if I was right, then the woman I thought I'd known for over a decade was a stranger. And I wasn't sure if our marriage could survive what I'd just started to uncover. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I wasn't going to accuse. Not yet. I needed more than a name and a few cryptic messages. If there was any chance that Andrea and I could survive this, I had to be sure what I was up against, or whether there was even anything to confront at all. But deep down, I already knew. The way she laughed a little too brightly lately. The way her phone never left her hand anymore. The fact that we hadn't had a real conversation in weeks. Not about us. At breakfast, Andrea was her usual self. Making Lily's lunch, asking me what I needed from the store, talking about a new family coming into the practice. I watched her carefully. She didn't flinch. She didn't fumble. She didn't act like a woman hiding a second life. But I couldn't shake Caleb's message. You can lie to him all you want, but don't lie to yourself. Who the hell was he? Once I dropped Lily off at school and Andrea headed to work, I called my cousin Kyle. He used to do freelance cybersecurity before going legit with a tech company in Charlotte. We hadn't talked in a while, but I didn't have time for pleasantries. Kyle, I need a favor, I said. What kind of favor? He asked cautiously. The kind where you look up someone. Quietly. His name is Caleb M., and he's somehow connected to my wife. I've got an email address. That's all. Kyle was silent for a moment. You think Andre is cheating? I don't know. I need to find out. I'm not looking to catch her in something that's not there. But if it is, I need to know. He sighed. Send me what you have. I'll run it through some databases, see if anything pops. Later that afternoon, he called me back. I couldn't find much, which is strange, he began. The emails linked to a few old message boards, a couple of social media comments, but nothing solid. No employment records, no clear location. Almost like he doesn't exist. He has to exist. He does. But he's careful. Probably uses aliases online. But one thing caught my eye. That email domain, it's tied to a burner service. The kind people use when they don't want to be traced. That sat heavy on my chest. Anything else? Yeah, photo. From a charity event in Asheville last year. Guess who's standing in the background next to Andrea? He sent it to my phone. There they were. Smiling. Close. Andrea's hand lightly on his arm, like it belonged there. His eyes weren't even looking at the camera. He was looking at her. I zoomed in. He was the kind of man you'd remember. Tall, salt and pepper hair, expensive blazer, charming smile. Too charming. Too close. I felt something rupture inside me. It wasn't just jealousy. It was betrayal threaded with disbelief. Why hadn't she told me? That night, I said nothing. I sat across from her at the dinner table as she talked about Lily's latest art project like everything was normal. She had no idea her secret had a face now. A name. A pattern. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded, ate my food, and tried not to explode. That weekend, Andrea said she had a training seminar on Saturday. Out of town. Just a day trip. Convenient. Too convenient. I'll take Lily to my mom's, I offered casually. She's been asking for some girl time with her grandma. Andrea smiled. That's perfect. I'll be back by dinner. But I had no intention of going to my mom's. And Andrea had no idea that my cousin Kyle had also traced the location of the nonprofit's upcoming training sessions. And none of them were scheduled for that Saturday. So where was she really going? I followed her. I know how that sounds. Like I'm the one crossing boundaries now. But when someone lies to your face, when they rewrite reality in real time, when you've spent years believing in a version of your marriage that might be fiction, the rules stop feeling so clear. She left the house at 8:07 a.m., dressed casually, but not in her usual office clothes. Jeans, a blue blouse I hadn't seen in years, and makeup that wasn't meant for any client meeting. I stayed back far enough not to be seen. I felt like a coward. I felt like a stranger. But I had to know. She didn't drive toward any conference center. She drove 20 minutes across town to a small cafe on the edge of a lake, not somewhere either of us had ever been. I watched from the far end of the lot as she parked, looked at her reflection in the mirror, and reapplied her lipstick. That's when he showed up. Caleb. He pulled up in a black Mercedes I'd never seen before. Stepped out like he owned the world. Walked up to Andrea and kissed her on the cheek like they did this every weekend. She didn't pull away. They went inside. I stayed in the truck, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I couldn't go in. Not yet. I had to see. I had to know for sure. Through the window, I watched them lean in close, heads bent together. She laughed, touched his hand. He reached across the table like it was normal. I snapped a picture. That was all I could stomach. I drove straight to Kyle's place. I saw them together. I said the second he opened the door. I watched her lie. In real time. Kyle didn't say much. Just offered me a beer and sat beside me in silence. What do I do now? I finally asked. You already know. But I didn't. Because the truth was, as much as I hated Caleb in that moment, as much as I felt betrayed by Andrea, I didn't want to destroy my daughter's world. I didn't want to blow up our lives because of a mistake, even a 6-month-long one. I wanted answers. And then, I wanted to decide what kind of man I was going to be. That night, I waited for Andrea to come home. She walked through the door at 6:43 p.m., holding a takeout container and humming softly. She looked happy, lighter, and it made me sick. How was the seminar? I asked. She didn't even blink. Good. Long lots of information. I nodded. Then I showed her the photo. She went pale. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse. I just looked her in the eyes and said the one thing I knew she wasn't prepared for. I know everything. Her mouth opened, then closed. She sat down, hard, on the nearest chair. Ryan, No, I cut her off. Not yet. Not tonight. You're going to take the night to think. Because tomorrow, you're going to tell me the whole truth. And if I find out you lied again, even once, this marriage is over. Tears welled in her eyes. Ryan, I turned away before I could see them fall. Because if I did, I wasn't sure I'd still be strong enough to walk away when it was time. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Andrea and Caleb, smiling across that cafe table like I didn't exist. Like 12 years of marriage, a daughter, and a life we built meant less than a secret weekend rendezvous. I stared at the ceiling until dawn, waiting for the moment I'd hear her footsteps downstairs. I wasn't sure if I was ready to hear the truth, but I couldn't live with the silence anymore. At 7:12 a.m., she walked into the kitchen. No muck-up, puffy eyes. Her voice was a whisper. Can we talk? I didn't answer. I just nodded and pulled out a chair. She sat across from me and gripped a mug of coffee with both hands like it was holding her together. I didn't plan for any of this, she began. That was how it always started, wasn't it? With what wasn't supposed to happen. I met Caleb 6 years ago, she said, eyes fixed on the table. It was during a nonprofit conference in Raleigh. We were seated at the same table for lunch. We talked about work, about kids. He wasn't a stranger. Not completely. He used to live in Asheville. We even went to the same high school, a few years apart. I stayed quiet. He reached out again 2 years ago, sent a message through LinkedIn of all things. Said he was in town, asked to catch up. And you said yes. I said, not as a question. She nodded. We met for coffee. It was supposed to be innocent, but wasn't. I felt seen, like someone actually listened, like someone remembered who I used to be. Who you used to be? I asked, the bitterness creeping into my voice. Andrea, you have a husband, a child, a life. I know, she said quickly. I know I do, and I never meant to hurt either of you. But somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like me. And with him, I didn't feel like someone's mom, someone's wife, someone checking off grocery lists and orthodontist appointments. I felt like Andrea again. Just Andrea. I leaned back, staring at her. So what? This was about self-discovery. She flinched. It wasn't physical for a long time, she whispered. We just talked. Once a month. Then every couple of weeks. And then, I don't know. It escalated. You do know, I said. You chose it. Yes, she said, tears welling up now. I did. The room went quiet. I looked at her, this woman I'd kissed 1,000 times, laughed with, cried with, built a life with, and I didn't recognize her. Not really. Why didn't you just tell me you weren't happy? I asked. I tried, Ryan. So many times. I'd say things, little things, like, I feel distant lately, or maybe we need a trip, just the two of us. But you always brushed it off, told me it was just a phase, that we were just busy. You always meant well, but you never heard me. She was crying now, but I didn't move. I couldn't. I was frozen between fury and heartbreak. You let our daughter be around him, I said. He showed up at her school fundraiser. She nodded, shame flooding her face. I didn't invite him. He came on his own. He said he wanted to see what I'd built. I told him it was inappropriate. I told him to stay away. That was the beginning of the end, honestly. I realized how wrong it had all become. I started pulling away after that. And yet I caught you having lunch with him last weekend. She swallowed hard. He reached out, said he wanted closure. I shouldn't have gone. I knew you'd find out eventually. I think maybe part of me wanted you to. We sat there in silence for a long time. What do you want from me now? I asked quietly. I don't know, she said. I want to fix this, but I don't know if that's possible. I needed you to know the truth. It wasn't all of the truth. I could feel it, but it was more than I had yesterday. I'm staying at Kyle's for a few days, I said. I need space. Real space. I'll take Lily with me. She nodded. Okay. You pegged to bake. Lily didn't ask many questions. She was used to staying at Uncle Kyle's now and then. But as I buckled her into the back seat, Andrea stood in the doorway, tears on her cheeks, looking like someone who'd realized too late what they'd broken. That weekend, I didn't talk to her at all. Instead, I took Lily hiking. We made pancakes. We stayed up watching movies. I tried to anchor myself in the one thing that still made sense. And somewhere around midnight Saturday, as Lily slept and I stared at my phone, debating whether to read Andrea's newest apology text, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't Andrea. It was him. Caleb. A text from a number I didn't recognize. You deserved better than lies. I'm sorry for my part in this. I never meant for it to go this far. I stared at it for a long time. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't offer excuses. But his name on my screen still made my blood boil. I showed the message to Kyle. You gonna respond? He asked. I shook my head. Not yet, because something still didn't make sense. If Andrea had cut things off, why would Caleb suddenly text me? Why not just disappear like he was supposed to? Unless there was something more. Something he knew that she hadn't told me yet. That night, I opened her laptop again. I knew I shouldn't, but this wasn't about spying anymore. This was about survival. And that's when I found the folder. It was buried deep, hidden behind a fake name and an old password I knew from years ago. Inside, emails. Dozens of them. Between Andrea and Caleb. They went back almost a year and a half. It wasn't just occasional coffee meetups. It wasn't just lunch. They planned trips. Cancun, Savannah, Nashville. Most were never taken, canceled last minute. But the intent was there. One message from Caleb said, when are you finally going to tell him? You keep saying you're going to leave, but we're still hiding. Another from Andrea read, I'm scared. I don't want to break my daughter or destroy everything. I just don't know how to choose. And in that moment, I realized she already had chosen. She just didn't want to deal with the fallout. I closed the laptop, stood up, and looked around Kyle's quiet house. Lily was asleep down the hall. I was standing in a stranger's living room, reading the last 12 months of my wife's second life. And I wasn't sure if the man I used to be could survive what came next. The next morning, I woke up knowing exactly what I had to do. No more dancing around the truth. No more hoping Andrea would give me the full story on her own. I had it, in black and white. I read her plans to leave me, her fears of hurting Lily, her late-night promises to Caleb. The only thing that hadn't happened was her actually walking out the door. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that was the cruelest part of all. She never chose me. She just stayed. There's a difference. I made Lily breakfast, waffles, the way she liked them, with chocolate chips shaped like a smiley face, and then dropped her off at school. I texted Andrea and told her to meet me at her house at noon. Alone. No lawyers. No stoling. Just truth. When I pulled into the driveway, she was already there, pacing in front of the porch like a nervous teenager. We walked inside. She looked fragile, like someone waiting for a final verdict. I didn't sit. I found a folder, I said simply. She blinked. What folder? I pulled out a printout of the emails, laid them on the table like evidence in a courtroom. These. Her shoulders slumped. I wasn't going to lie anymore, she said softly. I just didn't know how to tell you. You told him, I snapped. You told Caleb everything. You talked about leaving me. You even made vacation plans with him. Did you two sleep together? She didn't answer. Tell me the truth. Yes, she whispered. It happened a few times. Not recently, but yes. That word felt like a knife. I stared at the woman I married, the mother of my daughter, and for the first time in my life, I hated her. Not because she cheated, not because she lied, but because she stood there acting like I was the one tearing the house apart just by demanding honesty. You had choices, I said. You had 100 opportunities to tell me things weren't right. You made 1,000 small decisions that led you here. And you're standing in our kitchen like you just tripped and fell into an affair. I'm not excusing it, she said. I'm not asking you to forgive me right now. But Ryan, I want to fix this. I ended it with him. I haven't responded to him in weeks. I swear. He texted me. I said, did you know that? Her face twisted. He did what? He apologized. Said I deserve better. What's he doing? Trying to be the hero now? Or is he just trying to burn the whole thing down on his way out? Andrea sat down slowly. I didn't know he reached out to you. I didn't ask him to. I believed her. But that didn't matter anymore. You don't get to control what happens now, I said. You lost that right. The only reason I'm here instead of a lawyer's office is because we have a daughter, and she deserves better than the fallout you've created. I'll do anything, Andrea said, her voice cracking. Therapy, counseling, separate for a while. I don't want to lose this family. You already lost it, I said quietly. You just haven't realized it yet. I left the house. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I didn't even take anything with me. I just walked out like a man who'd finally given up waiting for someone to choose him. The next few weeks were mechanical. Lily stayed with me at Kyle's. Andrea and I split drop-offs and pickups. Every time we saw each other, it was transactional. Cold. She tried to smile. I didn't. We told Lily we were taking some space to figure things out. She didn't ask many questions. Kids are smart, but they also protect themselves from things they're not ready to face. I hired a lawyer, not to blow things up, just to be prepared. I didn't trust Andrea to keep playing fair if the day came that we filed papers. But then, something unexpected happened. Caleb showed up, not my door, at Kyle's. He walked right up to the porch like he belonged there and knocked, calm as ever. Kyle opened it, saw who it was, and immediately called me. I rushed home and found him sitting on the steps like he was waiting for an Uber. What the hell are you doing here? I asked. I'm not here to cause trouble, he said. I just wanted to say something. Then I'll leave, and you'll never see me again. I didn't say anything. I was in love with her, he began. Or at least I thought I was. She made it easy to believe that what we had was real. But I also know she loves you. Even when she was with me, I knew I was just a shadow, a version of someone she missed. My jaw clenched. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been that guy before. The one who gets lied to. The one who loses everything and never really understands why. And I figured maybe you deserve to hear it from someone else's mouth. I folded my arms. Go on then. She kept saying she'd leave you. That it wasn't about passion, it was about identity. About needing to feel like herself again. And I believed her. But when it came time to actually leave, she couldn't. She still loved you. Even when she didn't want to. He looked me dead in the eye. You don't have to forgive her. I wouldn't. But just know, you were never the fool. You were just the one who stayed. He stood up. I'm done, Ryan. I'm out of her life. Whatever she chooses now, that's on her. And with that, he walked away. I stood there for a long time, trying to piece together what that even meant. Part of me wanted to chase him down. Part of me wanted to thank him for finally ending it. The rest of me just felt hollow, because the truth was, I didn't know how to feel anymore. A week later, Andrea asked to meet. Not about custody, not about divorce, about us. We met at a quiet park near Lily's school. Just the two of us. She sat on a bench, hands folded, eyes glassy. I've started therapy, she said. By myself. No marriage counselor. Not yet. I needed to figure out who I am first. I waited. I don't expect anything from you, she said. But I want you to know, I am sorry. Not just for cheating, but for making you feel invisible. For building a second life instead of fixing the one we had. I was angry, I said. Still am. But underneath that, I think I was heartbroken a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it. She nodded. We got lost, she whispered. Somewhere between parenting and paying bills and routines. And I should have said something before I broke everything. You didn't just break it, I said. You shattered it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But maybe, I continued slowly, maybe something new can grow out of what's left. She looked up. I'm not saying I forgive you, I said. And I'm not saying I'm coming home. Then were you saying? She asked. I'm saying I'm willing to see who we are without the lies. 3 weeks later, we started counseling. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't hopeful in that starry-eyed, movie-ending kind of way. It was clinical, heavy. Most of our sessions began in silence, filled with the weight of all the things we hadn't said in years. Andrea cried a lot in those early meetings. I didn't. I sat stone-faced while the therapist asked me to explore my emotional response to betrayal. I didn't have poetic answers. I had facts. My wife lied to me for over a year. I told her. She didn't just cheat, she planned it, maintained it, protected it. While I was building a life, she was building an escape plan. Andrea listened. She never interrupted. And in that silence, in that restraint, I started seeing something I hadn't noticed before. Remorse, yes, but also exhaustion. She looked like someone trying to claw her way out of a hole she dug herself. It didn't make me feel better, but it made me pause. Because for the first time, she wasn't defending her choices. She was owning them. That was new. One night, after a particularly brutal session, we sat outside in the parking lot, both leaning against our own cars like two people waiting for a ride that wasn't coming. She spoke first. I don't expect to be your wife again, she said. I just want to be someone you can co-parent with. Someone you don't flinch around. I looked at her for a long time before answering. I don't flinch because I hate you, I said. I flinch because I used to love you. Fully. Blindly. That kind of trust doesn't grow back. It either gets rebuilt, or it stays dead. Her eyes filled, but she nodded. Then she whispered, I'd rather rebuild than live with a ghost. We kept going to therapy. Not every week. Some sessions got rescheduled. Some got canceled when Lily got sick or when work ran long. But we kept showing up. At home, things stayed separate. I lived at Kyle's. Andrea stayed in the house with Lily. We rotated weekends, split holidays. It wasn't perfect, but it was civil. One day, Lily came home from school with a handmade card she made in art class. On the front was a drawing of a house. Our house, with stick figures. Her in the middle, Andrea on the left, me on the right. On the back, she wrote, I hope someday we can all live together again because I like when we all laugh at the dinner table. That hit harder than any counseling session ever could. I kept that card in my wallet. One Saturday afternoon, about 2 months after everything exploded, I stopped by the house to drop off a box of Lily's books she'd forgotten at Kyle's. Andrea was in the backyard, sitting in the sun with a book. She looked up and waved, hesitant. I set the box down and turned to leave, but she called out, You want a coffee? I almost said no, but I didn't. We sat in the kitchen, the same kitchen where I caught her lying, the same kitchen where Marcus had put his hand on her back, the same kitchen where our life unraveled. Now it was quiet, normal. She poured me a cup without asking how I took it. Still remembered. So how's business? She asked after a while. I chuckled softly. Booming. Termites are recession-proof. She smiled, and for a second it felt normal. That was scarier than the betrayal, because I knew how easy it would be to slip back into the rhythm, to pretend the past was something that happened to other people. But we weren't other people. We were the people who didn't see the cracks until the roof caved in. Later that night, I found myself replaying our conversation in my head. It wasn't what she said. It was what she didn't say. No begging. No guilt trips. Just presence. She was finally showing up in a way she hadn't in years. And it made me ask myself a hard question. Was I ready to forgive her? Not forget. Not erase. Just forgive. The next therapy session, I told her I was ready to try cohabitation, a trial period. Not for us, I clarified. For Lily. She deserves stability. Andrea agreed. No pressure. No assumptions. Just a shared goal. So I moved back in, but not into our bedroom. I took the guest room. We agreed on boundaries. We took it one day at a time. At first, it was awkward. It was manageable. Then, something strange happened. One night, I came home late from site inspection. She was waiting in the kitchen with leftover casserole and a cup of coffee. You still like it with sugar, right? She asked, sliding it toward me. I nodded. We didn't talk much. Just sat there, eating in silence. And when I stood up to leave, she said softly, "Thank you." I turned. For what? For giving this a chance. Even if it's just for her. Even if it ends in heartbreak again. We kept the arrangement going. Days turned into weeks. We started laughing again. Nothing dramatic. Just small things, a TV show we both liked, a joke Lily made. Laughter that didn't feel forced. And slowly, the ice started to melt. Not into love. Not yet. But into something warmer than resentment. Then, one afternoon, I got a call. Kyle. He sounded tense. Ryan, I wasn't going to tell you this, but Caleb called me. My stomach dropped. What did he want? He said Andrea reached out to him. What? Just listen. He said she messaged him. Asked him to stop contacting anyone connected to you. That she was trying to fix things, and he was making it harder. I didn't know what to say. She's really trying, man, Kyle added. I thought you should know. That night, I sat Andrea down. Did you talk to him? She looked ashamed, but not guilty. Yes. One message. I told him to leave us alone. To move on. For good. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to reopen a wound. I thought it would hurt you more. You still have to hear. It hurts more when you hide things. She nodded. You're right. No more secrets. The next morning, I found a note taped to the fridge. Ryan, I know this house still feels like a crime scene to you. I know I still feel like a stranger. But every day, I look at Lily, and I remember why I have to become a better person. Not to win you back. Not to erase the past. Just to be someone worthy of forgiveness. Andrea. For the first time in months, I didn't feel angry reading her words. I felt something I hadn't expected to feel again. Hope. It's been 6 months since everything fell apart. Or maybe I should say 6 months since we started picking up the pieces. We didn't jump back into marriage. We didn't renew vows or take some symbolic trip to start over. We just lived. We parented. We communicated. We showed up. Some days were still hard. Some days I catch a flash of doubt in the back of my mind, a flicker of what if, when Andrea's phone buzzed late at night, or she came home a little later than expected. But now, instead of letting those doubts fester, I said them out loud. And she listened, not defensively, not dismissively, just listened. That's how I knew something fundamental had shifted. The lies had been replaced with honesty. Raw, bruised honesty. And maybe that was the foundation we needed all along. One evening, Lily was building a school project in the living room. A cardboard model of her dream city, complete with solar-powered stoplights and rooftop gardens. I was helping her with glue when Andrea walked in holding a box. She looked nervous. I found something in the attic, she said. I wiped my hands and followed her into the kitchen, where she opened the box and pulled out something I hadn't seen in years, our old wedding scrapbook. Photos from when we were kids, trying to act like grown-ups. Smiling faces, blurry snapshots, vows we'd written on crumpled notebook paper. I was going to throw it out months ago, she admitted. When everything was falling apart, I couldn't even look at this. But now, she trailed off. I sat beside her and flipped through the pages. There we were on the beach, barefoot and stupidly happy. There was my best man crying during his toast. There was Andrea, mid-laugh, champagne in hand, looking at me like I was the only man on the planet. It hurt, but it also reminded me that we had been in love once. And that love hadn't died. It had just been buried. Do you ever think about what could have happened if you hadn't been caught? I asked quietly. She looked me straight in the eye. All the time, and it scares me. Because if you hadn't come home that day, I think I would have ruined everything. Forever. You almost did, I said. I know. I closed the book and pushed it away gently. We'll never go back to what we were, I said. She nodded. But maybe we don't have to. Months passed. We stayed in the same house, but we took it one day at a time. We talked. We took family walks again. We ate dinner at the same table. Sometimes I still slept in the guest room. Other times I didn't. There was no finish line. Just movement. Just effort. And then came Lily's birthday. She wanted a party. Big one. All her friends. Family. Music. Balloons. Chaos. We threw it in the backyard. I grilled. Andrea made her famous lemon cake. Lily was radiant, bouncing from game to game, cheeks flushed, eyes bright. At one point, I looked across the yard and saw Andrea talking to one of the other moms, laughing, the same laugh that once made me feel like a stranger in my own marriage. But now, it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like life. After the last guest left and Lily collapsed into bed, we sat outside in the backyard alone. The sun was setting, warm and slow. Andrea looked at me and said, "Do you think we'll ever be okay again?" And for the first time, I didn't hesitate. "We already are," I said. "We're not who we used to be, but maybe we're something better now. Something honest." She reached for my hand. I let her take it, not because everything was healed, but because forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a decision you make every single day. 1 month later, our therapist told us she was proud. "You two have done something rare," she said. "You didn't just survive betrayal. You rebuilt your relationship with intention." Andrea smiled softly. I just nodded, because she was right. We weren't perfect, but we were real. It's been a year now. We still go to therapy, not because we're broken, but because we care enough to keep checking the foundation. We still argue sometimes, still misread each other, still stumble. But we talk. We laugh. We're present. We're rebuilding, every day brick by brick. Not the old marriage. Something new, stronger. And Lily? She still draws us as stick figures, but now they're holding hands again. That means more than any vow we ever made. The last thing I'll say is this. Betrayal doesn't always mean the end. Sometimes it's the fire that forges something tougher. If you survive it, if you do the work, if you walk through every painful mile together, not just for the child, not just for the history, but for each other, then maybe, just maybe, you come out stronger. More honest. More human. That's what we did. We stopped pretending. And we started living. Together.